Figure all that out and try to be balanced. And sometimes the officers are placed in positions where they don't want to be. And that is probably one of the biggest messages I can tell you, is police officers right now today are very concerned, and have been longer than the social movement environment that we're in, about policing and how much they need to do in our communities. In some towns, you may have 15, 20,000 calls for service. In other towns like ours, you have 120,000 before we even get into the investigative calls by our detectives. And so officers are very, very concerned. They don't want to be in this situation. I can't believe any officer today, and in my career knowing officers around me, that want to be an officer of all shootings. Protesting at your house, going to court, admin leave, there's nothing about it that people think might be sexy in policing in our community. Once again, I will tell you that we need to shift the discussion from false information to true information. And that true information is not made to say we're done and this is all good news. It means to say we need to shift it to criticize what we see that we know to be fact. And that is part of this, to understand there was a gun involved. We have to determine if this officer needed to shoot or not, and understand this in the various foreign investigations and what I would consider a public investigation as well into how we feel about officer involved shootings. That's an equal and important part of the conversation as we do this. So I'm hoping I'm able to provide as much information to you so that we understand there was a gun involved. The video will come out within 48 hours. I'm hoping 24 hours. I'm not sure if I'll get there. This will be the fastest release of the video that we've done. So it does take time to redact and get it prepared. So we are moving fast for our community to understand the dynamics behind this as we move forward as a community. So it's going to be very important for us. That's what we try to drive in our officers. And same with you when you went through it, it is the fact that you now have to make a decision. And before I even said that, your decision needed to be made already. And so that becomes a difficult part of policing that we try to get to. But you want us to ensure we do it right. This is not an excuse to say it's difficult. We accept the responsibility. I accept the responsibility as a chief to be responsible for 240 police officers out in the street 24 hours a day. That's my job.
Talk a little bit about, I mean, this is a situation where we have this incident, and I mean, by the time we know that we've had the incident, people are already saying, you know, he was executed, he was shot in the back, those kind of things. Is that kind of thing speeding up, kind of thing? I mean, before, it seems like if we date another incident, it was 12 hours before we started getting into rumors that had to be dispelled, but in this case, it seems like it was 30 minutes.
I think social media and the proximity for a lot of people, I think that drives it as well. You know, I've always heard these rumors after an officer involved shooting. I remember seeing one years and years ago where a young person I know told the media on Channel 7 over off of Raymond, said, yeah, he had a cell phone when I saw it, and the rumors we were chasing from that morning was the fact that it was a cell phone, not a weapon. And in fact, it was a weapon and he fired it. But it was just, I know from my career how fast these travel and how quick they travel. I've seen it in my 35 years, and it is frustrating for us. And it will always be part of the human dynamic. You know, and so we have to figure out a way as a community to say, we know the truth, we know the facts, and you know what? We want to hold you accountable to those facts. And you, chief, need to be gone. You're not the guy. And you know what? That officer, we want something more done. Our command staff, we can't trust them out there. We want change and we want it now. I get that. But it's got to be based on truth. So what we're seeing is a confusion. You know, we're seeing a lot of fog and trying to go through it to say what is fact and what is not. How do we get to community violence without interrupting the fact that we have to also ensure the officers are doing it the best that they can? Our immersive training is fantastic. Not enough that we don't have shootings, but in fact our use of force has dropped by 50%. The use of kicks and punches has dropped by equal amount. So we are doing things to drive it down. We're not waiting for the laws to come out. There are a dozen laws that are on the floor. We'll see where they go. We'll see how much of them will survive. When we talk about de-escalation, use of force, and all these different elements. I do sit on the state legislative committee to talk about these. I do talk with our assembly member and our senator about these issues and trying to find balance. So I play a role that's larger than just the city of Pasadena. I think that's what the people would want for me as a chief of police, to find balance. Not just to sit on one side of it and say, this is the way it goes and that's it because we're the police. Absolutely not. I've been in town long enough to understand that there's always been these type of issues in policing in our communities. How do we stop them? By training, the methods in which we train, community interaction, community collaboration, finding officers from our community to be deployed in our neighborhoods as police officers. Those are the game changers for us. Those are the things that we do. And to make sure we don't have police chiefs in position that are doing things just for themselves in the moment. That's a failure strategy. That's a strategy that will not fly and doesn't work. Everything we're trying to put into place right now is supposed to survive my career here. 35 years, throughout my 36 years, I think I'm closer to the end. All right, not the beginning. So I have to make sure that all that I do is for the future of the organization and our community. And whoever comes in and takes his position can grab that baton and run it at the same pace. This is not, for all the strategies and all the changes we've made over the last 2.5 years, it is not simple. A chief of police needs to walk into this position and know this is a 7-day-a-week job, 24 hours, on vacation, anywhere you're at. Think it, do it, know what's going on. Have any of you ever called me and I got a phone call back, except for you this afternoon? It didn't matter where I was at or what was happening, you got a call back. Same for my people who are here. You will get a call back from me. I've gotten many community messages this week about the event that's happening, and I respond to each community message.